Hello， 大家好，欢迎回到外媒看中国，我是安博然。Some massive amounts of hypocrisy are currently on display from the UK government as they try to divert attention from a massacre going on right now in the Middle East. Believe it or not, some Westminster war simps have brought up the tired Xinjiang Uyghur Muslim genocide trope again, despite not a single piece of actual evidence ever being brought up, and despite openly supporting the genocide of a different group of Muslims right now in another part of the world. But keep watching, because I'm about to share with you all actual evidence that the UK is a massive liar about Xinjiang. This is Reports on China. I'm Andy Borham in Shanghai. Let's get reporting. First things first, apologies that I'm going to have to self-censor in this video and not mention the name of the country currently bombing civilians in an attempt to wipe out a certain group of people. Or, we usually just call it genocide, because my last video on this topic was restricted by YouTube in an attempt to stop people like me from talking. So I'll try and get around the draconian censorship of the Western free speech oligarchs by just not saying certain words, but I'm sure you guys already know what I'm talking about. Right in the middle of what is more likely than not a massive war crime, where innocent civilians are being bombed and where the US-led West and its proxies are offering endless support for that continued bombing of innocent civilians, the UK government has tried to divert people's attention away by again bringing up that hideous trope about Xinjiang genocide, which has already been debunked thousands of times and shown up for what it is: atrocity propaganda designed to cause trouble for China and slow its progress. On October 18, the UK government issued a joint statement at the United Nations with the support of 50 other countries, again accusing the Chinese government of committing serious human rights violations against the Uyghurs and other Muslim minorities. That is complete crap, and they know it. I'll show you why very shortly. They even made an extremely tacky video about the joint statement for social media, complete with grammatical errors. Check this out. Affecting the Uyghur people. It seems, based on the lack of quality, that this video was rushed out. Could it be to divert attention from real atrocities against Muslims elsewhere? Interesting. James Cleverly, the UK's Foreign Secretary, proved he isn't very clever at all by absolutely contradicting himself on Twitter. Cleverly is the Member of Parliament for Braintree, if you can believe that. On October 18, he tried to pretend he cares about evidence with this post. I've censored out some keywords to avoid censorship. Last night, too many jumped to conclusions about the tragic loss of life at a certain hospital. Getting this wrong would put even more lives at risk. Wait for the facts. Report them clearly and accurately. Cool kids must prevail. Sounds reasonable, right? Well, not when you look at this tweet from the very next day. Engagement with China means standing up for the values our country believes in. That's why the UK has brought together 51 countries to publicly call out China's human rights violations in Xinjiang. The UK cannot and will not remain silent, no matter the cost. Wow, the absolute hypocrisy of it all. It makes me laugh, actually, because as we all know, there has not been a single piece of actual irrefutable evidence that genocide or anything of the sort went on in Xinjiang. But here's James telling everyone not to jump to conclusions and to wait for the evidence when something comes up that affects one of his allies. Convenient. And I know for a fact that the UK has absolutely zero evidence about anything like that happening in Xinjiang. How? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Do you guys remember the Uyghur Tribunal, which was held in London by a bunch of China haters in 2021? Well, if you read their judgment, apart from where they admit not having concrete evidence, but believe that there was probably some kind of human rights transgression, you can find a really interesting fact buried in the notes that most people don't read. Let's go to page 30 and have a look together. The UK government has been in contact with the tribunal from time to time. The government has assisted the tribunal, at the tribunal's request, with securing visas for some witnesses coming from overseas to give evidence at both the June and September hearings of evidence in London. However, requests for assistance by provision of usable evidence, including by Freedom of Information Act requests, have all been declined. Did you get that? I'll read the important part again. Requests for assistance by provision of usable evidence, including by Freedom of Information Act requests, have all been declined. So what does that mean? Well, basically it means that the Uyghur Tribunal asked the UK government to provide them with solid evidence to support any of the allegations they were making about Xinjiang, and the UK government rejected them. They even submitted Freedom of Information Act requests, which is where members of the public can request certain information from the government based on their rights under the law, and were still declined. Now, that only means one of two things. Number one, they could not supply any evidence of crimes against humanity in Xinjiang because they do not have any. Or number two, they have evidence but didn't want to supply it. But why would they do that? And wouldn't that make them guilty of supporting said crimes against humanity if that were really happening? Well, yes, but we all know that is not the case. The UK government would give up any solid evidence they had in the blink of an eye if they really had it. We would have heard about it years ago. The fact of the matter is that they do not have any evidence because what they are alleging did not happen. And they still push with the Xinjiang genocide conspiracy theory, even when it is laughably evident that they're talking crap, and even when real crimes against humanity go on with their tacit approval. Well, that's going to be it for today, you guys. But as always, I would love to hear what you think. Do let me know down below. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.